Hi, welcome back to Table Talk with Christy Harris, Cook and Sip with Cave Girl. I've got an exciting story for you. I went to the Loomis Eggplant Festival. It's the only festival I know of that celebrates the almighty eggplant. It's a local thing. Everybody's into it. People dress up like eggplant. They eat eggplant at this festival. They have recipe contests. Anyway, that's what I want to talk to you about, the recipe contest. I was actually first place winner with my eggplant recipe I'm going to show you. It's I don't even remember what I called it. I'll put it down in the show notes, but it was something like crackling eggplant slices with eggplant butter spread, something like that. Anyway, so you're going to need 2 eggplants for this. And what happened was, as I went to the festival, I was all ready. I made my recipe. I was really stoked to be in the contest. I, had to be there by 10:15. And for me, that's a lot of getting ready and driving and to Loomis and all that. Anyway, I get there, I rush, try to find the judges stand and submit my recipe. And it was getting to be around a little after 10 at that point, and all recipes had to be there by 10:15. So what happened was, is I sat my tray down and I registered and gave them my recipe, and they said, "Oh, you're the first one." And I thought, that's weird. That's bizarre. It's like, I hope there's more because I actually want to compete. Well, it turns out nobody else entered the contest, so I won first place by default. That doesn't feel as good as winning it outright and actually competing, obviously. It did feel good to take home $100 though, so that was my winning prize. And 13 years ago, I did win second place in the same eggplant festival with a different recipe. It was actually an eggplant cake, sort of like a carrot cake, but not. So anyway, I decided maybe it would be appropriate to show you how to make the eggplant recipe that I made, that I won with, my award-winning recipe. So here's how you do it. You're going to start out with 2 eggplants. You're going to need 2. One of the eggplants is going to go in the eggplant spread, which is the topping, the garnish. And then the other eggplant is going to be actually the slices that you're going to put the garnish on. So let's get to it. So with your eggplant, you're going to take the first one. You're actually going to roast this puppy in the oven, 425 for 40 minutes. So we're going to take the serrated knife. It's just way easier with an eggplant. And we're going to cut the tops off. Go ahead and cut the tops off of both and set the other one aside. You'll use that later, the eggplant slices. And then you're going to cut it lengthwise. And, just small enough kind of to where, like, you're going to be able to scoop out the eggplant after you roast it, because you're going to need to scoop it out. We're going to make like a spread, like a baba ganache, but we're not going to go that route. We're going to add some cheese, mascarpone cheese, to it instead. So do that, and we're all set there. So you're going to take your favorite glassware, or whatever you like to bake in, and you're going to put your eggplant slices in. Just like that. They all fit in there really well. And you're going to take your olive oil, some olive oil, and just drizzle across pretty liberally. And then we're going to bake that in the oven for like 40 minutes, like I said. We'll just keep rolling while we do that. And the next thing you're going to make is the actual breading on the eggplant. It's really yummy, and it's kind of a non-traditional breading that I use. And I don't remember the ratio, but I'll just wing it, and that's how I always do it cooking. Anyway, you're going to use almond flour, one of my favorite gluten-free ingredients, being gluten-free for so long now. It's over 10 years. And that I can quite use it all, but let's just say I'll give you the proper, I don't want to like tell you the wrong thing with the amounts, but so I'll just put it in the recipe below. But we're gonna do that. And the other breading item that I love is actually Parmesan cheese. It does really well, especially we're gonna air fry these. So, okay, so you're gonna put your cheese, if you didn't get the powdered kind, if you got the shredded kind like I did, this was on sale, so I just do a simple swap out if something's on sale, and I just roll with it. So you're gonna put your cheese in here, a generous amount. I'm gonna go with like half the container there. It's a 5-ounce container, so just use half of it. And just pulse it until it's powdered. I think my food processor's on its last legs, but I think it'll be for now. Okay, that was good. And you know, I think what we're gonna do is pour this into the almond flour crumbs for now, but we're gonna end up pulsing everything together later. Now, the mystery yum ingredient that we're gonna use is pork rinds. And I love them because they're low carb. And that's actually gonna be a salty, delicious, crispy treat when this fries up in the air fryer and combines with the cheese and the almond flour. It's really ingenious breading, I have to say. I was at the tail end of my snacking bag, so I'm gonna open this other bag. And just pulse those and make those into crumbles too. And now I'm going to throw everything back in together. Just so it's all well combined. It's pulsed a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it's going to get it all mixed together. And then this smells delicious, by the way. So you can put it in your little breading container. I'm going to be dipping some eggplant slices into this in a minute. Put it away. All right, so now you're going to take your eggplant, your other eggplant that you reserved. The one is still roasting in the oven. It's doing quite well, I'm sure. Take your serrated knife and you're going to cut the slices as like level as possible, as flat to the plate as possible, because you want them to sit nice and flat. And I guess I'm cutting them about 3/4 of an inch, maybe half an inch. I don't know. Probably half an inch. Don't cut it too thick. You want to end up with about 6 slices. So, and you'll be frying them like 3 at a time in the air fryer, depending on how big your air fryer is. That was not a great cut. 1, 2, 4. So I'll take some little ones off the other end. And those will be the ones I'll eat for dinner tonight. So you might end up having like a nub of eggplant left over, and that's fine. You can actually throw it in with the one you're roasting and make more topping if that's what you like. But so just gonna lay these out. So we have our slices laying here, and we're gonna salt them so that like some moisture can get out of them, because you don't want to try to bread these if they're soaking wet. It's not gonna work. Not too much salt though, because ultimately we'll be breading this in cheese and pork rinds, and those are really salty items, so you don't want to oversalt. So set that aside for now. So let's talk about sort of what's going to go on top as garnish. We're going to use some dill, fresh dill. I love it. We're going to use up the remaining dill that I actually bought for the festival. So it's been in my refrigerator for like 2 weeks. So it's the perfect excuse to like make this recipe again and to use up the rest of the ingredients. So nothing goes bad in my refrigerator. Nothing goes bad on my watch. That's my motto. And we're going to use some capers. Capers are really lovely. They go with dill. They pair with everything Mediterranean, kind of goes together. That's kind of like how I form recipes. If I like one food and, I take the area where it's from, like fish, okay? Fish, Mediterranean. If we're going to go capers, olives, things like that, they all go together. And then your wine pairing ultimately will kind of go with that too. So it's kind of fun to plan dinners around that. So we're going to use another Mediterranean ingredient, pine nuts, very popular in Middle Eastern food, Mediterranean food, Greek food. Okay, I changed my mind. We're going to keep it going because it is getting late around this household and I don't like to eat too late before I go to bed. So we've got some pine nuts roasting here. And secondly, we've got some capers frying right there. These are going to be our toppings for texture with the dill, the capers, and pine nuts, and it's going to be really tasty. So that's going to be on your topping part. The water has now sort of bleached out of the eggplant, so we're good on that. And I'm going to get some eggs out of the fridge to continue our breading process. Okay, so we got 3 eggs we're going to use here. Crack them open. We're going to beat them up pretty good here. Whisk them up. You know how like we're kind of like sort of versions of our parents? I'm gonna admit that that's true. With this case, I'm whipping these eggs up in a bowl that I kept from some like whipped topping, some dairy-free whipped topping that I had. Just because I like disposable containers that if they get too gnarly, I can just bitch them. But, just to do stupid things in, like with eggs and use them for like breading, they're perfect for that. So, got that going. Now we're gonna bread these babies, these eggplants, and keep an eye on your capers over here. Make sure that they don't burn up. And we've got 18 minutes left on our eggplant that's in the oven. That's exciting. Isn't it exciting to use the air fryer again? Like, I think that's the only thing I use on this show, but anyway, sorry about that. If you don't have one, you can actually bake these. Try to use a convection setting in your oven if you have that. But the idea is to get air circling and surrounding hot air and make them crisp up. So we have a good prepping station. I'm gonna get some parchment paper. Parchment paper is my absolute favorite. And you're gonna, it rolls up on you. Here's just a tip. It rolls up on you like that. We'll just turn it the other way. Press. And it doesn't roll up on you. So, we're gonna line up our breading station. I have room here. There we go. these ingredients because I'm so overzealous and I want to show you 2 recipes today. But I gotta move stuff out of the way here. Those capers are looking really good. So how are we doing this? Okay, we'll do it this way. Egg, 4 frying mixture to tray, okay? And then we're also gonna get our air fryer plug in going. So go ahead and power that up. I like 380 for this one. And I just keep an eye on them. When they're done, they're done. Like, and I don't flip them or anything on this recipe because the breading will, it might fall off. It's worked really well for me, but I don't like to flip stuff in the air fryer just because the breading, wants to flip off. So what we're gonna do is kind of press the dry breading on there, and it helps the egg adhere to the breading. It helps the egg adhere to the dry breading, and then the egg will help the dry breading adhere to the egg. So it's kind of like a hand-in-hand thing. But use one hand to bread because it can get really messy if you don't. And then just press a bunch of crust on there. And you have it, and it's all breaded. See? And just lay it down on your board, on your lined pan. I'm gonna do this again, same procedure. Go ahead, soak an egg again. And then we're just gonna do that and flip them over. And I like to just toss some extra crumbs on top because that's fun. A little crispy. We're going through it. We're gonna do all 6 here. 3 eggs should be enough for 6 slices. It's actually probably more than enough. And then if you have egg left over, which you probably will, you could just throw it in an omelet. Like, don't throw it away. Don't throw stuff away, especially now with things running out in the store, if you know what I mean, Joe Biden. But anyway, you're gonna bread your eggplant. Let's do this. Number 3. At this point, you can rinse your fingers off and get 3 of them going in the air fryer. I have a pretty healthy coating of spray from a dish I did last night, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. And don't try not to stack them or overlap them because you don't want anything to pull off the breading. Okay, we're gonna keep going on with this. I'm gonna go there and keep dipping. So yeah, so I think like the important thing that we should all take away from this eggplant festival story, now that my capers are done, so we'll take the top of these. Shut this fan off. The story to be learned is that, you know, if you don't show up, if you don't try, then, you know, if you don't take risks, then nothing will ever happen to you in life. So, you know, life's a risk. You go out, you know, you might die in a car accident, but you know what? At least you lived, at least you went out and tried. So, like, with this recipe, I was kind of like, well, I don't know. Like, I don't know if I want to do it. Loomis is far. It's a far drive, and it's really early for somebody like me on a Saturday morning. Well, I wouldn't have won. There would have been nobody in the contest, and then I would have felt really bad for the organizers, you know? So that's what I'm saying. Just don't be afraid to do something crazy or, you know, go outside the box. Because if I was afraid all the time, nothing ever fun would happen to me. Some of my most fun things is like, I'm scared to death. Like the time we went to Portugal, the time we went to Switzerland. I planned all these trips thinking, oh, like, I don't know if this itinerary is going to work. I'm scared. I'm American. I've never been here before. But I went there and I had a good plan, and I had a plan B. If restaurant A was closed, we'd go to plan B, and it was a great time. It was spectacular. So listen to wise old sage here when I tell you, don't be afraid to try new stuff. Even this pork rind breading, I know it sounds wacky, but you'll really love it. So I have just a bit left over. That's okay. Andy likes to eat it with a spoon, so he can do that later. Okay, so it's been about 7 minutes, and these eggplant slices are beautiful. They're cooked and ready to be lifted out carefully so you don't lose all your breading. And then we're going to put the other 3 in here. Just going to use my hand on this one. And put those in for like 7 or 8 minutes as well. And your air fryer might be different than mine. Just do what works for you, or do to your desired goodness. But anyway, put them on the tray and set them aside for now. We'll be doing more with those later. Now, during the little break I took the eggplant out of the oven when we're good roasting. And we're gonna try and scoop the flesh out of the eggplant as much as possible. It kind of wants to stick to the skin a little bit, but that's okay. A little bit of skin's fine in the mixture, but you don't want too much of it, because you want to overall get like a smooth cheese, cream cheese topping. We're going to use mascarpone cheese and cream cheese and lemon and garlic, and I don't know how that sounds to you, but it sounds amazing to me. So people ask me how I come up with my recipes, and I literally lay in bed at night and think of food. I know that's weird, but that's how I am. And I think a lot of cooks are the same way, or chefs or whatever, recipe developers. We're always wondering what we can do next, and we kind of all have a thing in common where we know what things taste like in our heads, or we have an idea of what it will look like when it's done. So that's really helpful when you're coming up with recipes. So when I tested this recipe initially, I went the route of like a baba ganoush, and I added tahini, sesame paste. But then I realized, with the capers and the dill and everything, I just thought maybe like a good cheesy route would be really good. So I tried that. And that's the one I ended up using to win the contest by default. So don't throw these away. These are really good. Salt them up, eat them. Don't throw anything away that you have, and a lot of nutrition's in the color of the eggplant and the skin, so you want to make sure you devour that when you have it. We just don't need it for the filling or the topping. I've found like a lot of gluten-free recipes, you basically have to shape shift to get what you need done. So we're gonna put in our eggplant that we scooped out of I missed that one. Just gonna peel it off with my fingers here. We're gonna put our eggplant in there first. And I'm gonna rinse rinse my fingers off again because I thought I was done. That. Lovely. And then I really love mascarpone cheese. It's like one of my favorite ingredients to use. It's actually not very caloric. You would think that it's major calories. It's 60 calories a tablespoon. So that's half the calories of olive oil. So if you want to have a little fun, put some mascarpone cheese in your life. That was our timer for the eggplant. We didn't even need 40 minutes. Roasted really quickly this time. So lemon juice. You're gonna add lemon juice. Pretty liberal amount there. And then I have some Neuchâtel cheese. It's like light cream cheese. We're gonna add because you're already adding like full fat mascarpone. You don't need to kill yourself with fat in this. So we're gonna add a little bit of that. Just kind of eyeball it. And I don't know why we can put a man on the moon, but we can't, like, look how nasty this is. They can't find a way to like make cream cheese less messy. Okay? Like, somebody please do something about that. So I'm constantly rinsing my hands. So let's add a little salt, but not too much, like, because everything's salty already, just a little bit. You're gonna have the capers with salt, you're gonna have the breading with salt. You don't want the topping to be like just sodium city. So we're gonna pulse, hopefully my process will come along. Gonna pulse that. And it'll come together really, really fast. It's perfect. We've got a lot of fat from the olive oil that you drizzled on the eggplant, so it's going to be pretty good. Yep. Delicious. That one more spin. And that's the topping. So we're getting close with our other slices of eggplant. We're about ready to put this thing together, and I've got a fantastic wine pairing. The boys, when I visited them at Story, when I interviewed them, they were gracious. They were so gracious to me, and they gifted me 2 bottles of wine. So I'm going to actually pair this recipe with a Chardonnay that they gave me. And then if we're lucky and have enough time, I'll be making another recipe and pairing the Syrah that they gave me with that. So stick around for that. That's going to be fun. Now let's get this topping on these eggplants. Oh, heavenly goodness here. Flavor insanity. I'm going to eat that later. All right, so we got our eggplants. Beautifully cooked, and I don't really have a lot of issues with the breading coming off. That mixture I use is pretty good, although I am having issues getting this out. Okay, that one stuck a little. No big deal though, because since we're not flipping them, you won't see the underside. No one will know the breading came off. It's fine. So those in a little scrap pile for me later. Yeah, so now we are ready to execute this dish. I'm gonna get a nice plate down. I took the eggplant to Loomis on a big glass tray, and I thought it would look really nice that way. You know, presentation is always, it's actually more than, you know, what it tastes like. It's 80%, I would say, presentation, because you're looking at it. You want something to look good with your eyes before you eat it. So I'm gonna use this rectangle tray here. It's just big enough for the 6 slices. So I'm gonna kind of put them, and at this point you can kind of stack them so that they will fit on your tray. Just gonna move them around a bit so they'll fit, but okay. Get that out of our way. So now, got them all arranged on our tray here. And we're gonna add our topping, our little mascarpone party cream cheese thing that we did. Gonna just add like on half the slice because I think it looks better that way for presentation. It looks kind of cute that you have kind of half of it going and then half of the pork rind thing is showing, so that's kind of cool. And you're probably gonna have leftover filling or topping, but it doesn't matter. This stuff, you could dip vegetables in it and eat it. It's delicious. Just do that. Trust me on that. And then I put together a mise en place of our toppings that we prepared earlier. I've got the capers gonna go on here, the pine nuts, and the dill. So everything's really nice looking. I'm gonna go ahead and just dress these guys up. Capers for everybody. This is a very good recipe for appetizer, for to bring to a party. It's really kind of pretty too. I mean, if you do it right, it's really cute. So I'm gonna accidentally dropped some topping on there, so I'm gonna fix that. But yeah, there you have it. We're all done here. Looks really pretty, and I'll be right back with the wine pairing from Story Winery. So, if you've stuck around long enough, here's the wine pairing portion of our program. I always love to pair a good wine with a recipe that I've created, so here's the ribbon that I won along with the $100. It's really nice. The Eggplant Festival organizers. They gave me a cookbook too that was filled with eggplant recipes. It was a lot of fun to read through it and see the past winners and how great they were. We've got our eggplant dish here. It's all done. And this wine I'm pouring is Story Winery 2018 Chardonnay, and they actually source their grapes from one of the best places in the world, Carneros. Carneros, Chardonnay, and Pinot Noirs are legendary. Got that buttery type of mouthfeel that you get in the classic Carneros style. A lot of that comes from the oak barrel. So I don't know exactly the process that Story uses on their Chardonnay, but it's just swirling and tasting through the first round. It's a lot like the classic, it's not overly buttery, but it's the classic type. It's but it's really nice and floral on the nose, so that's really good. This wine pairs really well with the eggplant dish because the actual eggplant butter that we made with the mascarpone cheese and the cream cheese, it really blends well with the characteristics of the butteriness of the Chardonnay. And then, surprisingly enough, after tasting through this, the dill actually goes with the floral notes, so you can't beat that. It's a really nice pairing. Like I said, it's a great appetizer to make. I know we're getting into fall, so we're probably maybe not drinking as much white wine, but Chardonnay is also a good option for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is just around the corner and the holidays. So Chardonnay is always a great pairing with Thanksgiving foods and a great opener to all your holiday parties. So I hope you try this recipe, and I hope you try this wine pairing. Go see the guys up at Story. They've got a lot of neat stuff going on. They're actually came out with their first Georgian Chardonnay, which is a little bit different in style. Well, it's a lot different in style, actually. It's almost like an orange wine. You're going to really like to meet those guys and taste through their line of the Georgian styles. It's really interesting. And if you want to reference back, I did an interview with them back in May, so you can take a look at that. I hope you make this recipe, and I hope you'll try Story Winery and check out their wines. I had a lot of fun making this food today and reliving the Eggplant Festival, and that was fun. I hope you'll come and try to kick my butt next year at the Eggplant Festival. Like, all you home cooks out there, show up, man. Play ball. Let's do some recipes, let's cook, and let's face off and have some fun with it. If you are interested in being on my show, please drop me a note. I would love to work with small businesses who would like promotion, or wineries who, want to do wine pairing with me. That would be a lot of fun. If you like this video, please click like in the comment section below. Leave me a comment, drop me a note. I would really love that, and I would really love it if you would subscribe to my channel. It's been fun. Sorry I was away so long. I was a little busy with something called the recall, and that did go through, but we're just going to keep plugging away for our personal rights and, fighting for what's right, and fighting for truth and justice. And I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop speaking my mind. I hope you really enjoyed this recipe. I hope you try it, make it, check out Story Winery, and until next time, cheers.